Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Respectfully, Mr. or Mrs. Jury and all friends of Pelajar Pancasila who I love. On this occasion, allow me Ainunnisa Thoati from SMP Negri 1 Karanganyar to deliver a speech with the theme Aku Pelajar Pancasila, or we say I am a student of Pancasila in English. In this modern era, we as students can access internet easily because almost all of us are provided with laptops or mobile phones by our parents. Therefore, it is very necessary for us to be wise in using technology because there is a lot of information on the internet that is sometimes invalid. This concern is also a concern of the government, which directs the government to make a Pancasila Student Profile campaign to schools. The first dimension is faith, fear of God Almighty, and noble morals. This concern is how we strengthen our faith and behave according to religious teachings in everyday life. The attitudes and morals that we give to God are certainly a reflection of how we behave and have morals towards the people around us. The second dimension is global diversity. Students who have this dimension are students who have an open mind. Someone is cultured, local, and mentioned in the identity. The third dimension is gotong royong or mutual cooperation. With this dimension, students will realize that humans are social beings who live side by side with each other. The fourth dimension is mandiri or independent. Humans are indeed social creatures, but the dimension of independence is very important for students, so they don't always depend on other individuals and can rely on themselves. The fifth dimension is critical thinking. This dimension will make it easier for students in this modern era because every student who understands and implements this dimension can filter and analyze various information. The last dimension is creative. The development of times and increasingly advanced technology will require creative thinking to develop and create innovation and new technologies. On this occasion, I would like to discuss the fifth dimension called critical thinking. As we know, recently, a lot of news reporting cases that occurred due to the lack of people's critical thinking. For example, in the case of money multiplying fraud leads to murder in Banjarnegara, quoted from Kompas.id on the 3rd of April 2023. This happened because the perpetrator to be a dukun multiplying money on the internet, so that the victim was tempted to multiply the amount of money on the perpetrator. The victim transferred some money to the perpetrator. After some time, the perpetrator didn't give the amount of money that he promised. So the victim forced the perpetrator to give back the money continuously. The perpetrator felt annoyed. Then he killed him by poisoning him. After the victim died, he buried his body on the path landing to the forest in Wonoyoso. According to the perpetrator's confession, he had deceived as many as 5 victims. It happened because of the lack of the victim's critical thinking. He even didn't analyze the consequence of the action he took. From the case examples that I quoted from the news, we can conclude that it's very important for us to understand the concept of critical thinking and start thinking critically. Because by being critical, we will not receive the information we receive directly. We will analyze the information we receive from various perspectives and check its validity before we believe and take certain further actions so that we can also be more vigilant and thorough in doing things. To become a person who can thinking critically, we can do it in 3 ways. First, don't believe it right away and don't spread it lightweight. After receiving the information, it's best not to believe it right away and don't pass it on to others because we don't know the truth yet. So it's best if we take the second step first. Second, deeper analysis of information. Look for other sources that may be more reliable. You try to see from various perspectives. If possible, you can confirm the information you receive the relevant parties to get valid information. Third, document all the evidence you have. After you get all the evidence, you document the evidence you have and you can inform other colleges and or relative or can report it to the authorities if it is found to be detrimental or potentially harmful. Ladies and gentlemen, critical thinking is an important part of life which should not only be a concern for the government, but must be a concern for all of us. Let's make the change starting for ourselves and our immediate environment. We can do 3D movements to anticipate hoax news circulating. They are don't believe it right away and don't spread it away, deeper analysis information, and document all the evidence you have. I think this is the end of my speech. For your attention, I thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.